Hey guys, welcome into the video. Today we're gonna yap about something that we normally we don't talk about. Most of the time we're talking about controller settings, and I've done a couple videos about this, about the Elite Series 2 if you want to check it out, and my actual settings in Fortnite, which I do need to update for the remix season and for Chapter 6 coming up. But for now, we're going to talk about something that you use almost just as much, that is just as important, which is your video settings. So first, we're going to look at the Xbox settings, and then we're going to look at your actual monitor settings. And if you're not playing on a monitor, if you're playing on a TV, you absolutely should be thinking about switching to a monitor, because it's going to work way better than a TV just for input delay. Okay, so let's get into it here. You'll see in here, when you come into the settings on your Xbox, you have a TV and display options, and you can go in here and you can look at the different video modes, and there's a bunch of different things you can tick on or off here. The important ones that we're going to be talking about is HDR, and also variable refresh rate. And those are going to be the main important ones here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about HDR. So using HDR in Fortnite is not really recommended in my opinion. It can create issues, particularly if you're aiming for competitive play or consistent visuals. And here's some key reasons why many players avoid using HDR, and why I do too. Number one, you're going to get inconsistent lighting. HDR can make shadows and bright spots look more extreme, which can interfere with seeing enemies clearly. Areas that are too bright or too dark can cause a loss of detail, making it hard to spot opponents. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is the performance impact. HDR can increase the demand on your GPU, and if you're using an Xbox, you might think that that's not really an issue, but it does impact the input delay and lag in the game. So that could potentially lower your frame rate, which is critical in a game like Fortnite, and the lower FPS can impact reaction times, and it's going to impact your game smoothness. The third issue here with using HDR is color accuracy. Fortnite's vibrant colors are designed to work well in SDR, standard dynamic range. Okay, so HDR can sometimes wash the colors out. It can make them look overly saturated, altering the intended look and the feel of the actual game itself. And this is Fortnite specific. I'm not talking about all games, just Fortnite here. Number four, your monitor and TV compatibility. Not all monitors and TVs display HDR well. So if your display can't handle HDR properly, it's going to lead to washed out colors and poor contrast. So for most players, keeping HDR off is going to give you better visibility, smoother performance. It's going to give you a more consistent colors in the game, and it's going to make for a more optimal Fortnite experience, especially during competitive gameplay. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is your bit color. And that's actually not in here. We're going to go back over here to it is video fidelity and overscan. Okay, so what I recommend, there's a lot of different options here, but I recommend sticking to the 24 bits per pixel, which is 8-bit, and this is why. Number one, you're going to get improved performance because 8-bit color requires less processing power compared to 10-bit, which can help you maintain higher and more stable frame rates. This is going to result in smoother gameplay. It can improve responsiveness, which is crucial in Fortnite's fast-paced environment. Number two, it's going to give you reduced input lag, lower color depth. 8-bit can reduce input lag slightly, so it's going to give you a little bit of an edge in your reaction time. Although the difference can be minor, any input delay can impact your ability to aim and build quickly. Okay, so and then number three, consistent colors. Again, Fortnite's art style and color palette are generally optimized for 8-bit color on most displays, so switching to a higher color depth can sometimes cause those colors to look significantly different or overly saturated, which might affect your visibility in certain lighting conditions in the game. Number 4, the reduced risk of banding. 10-bit color offers smoother gradients. Some displays and Xbox settings don't always handle it perfectly, so it can lead to color banding or odd-looking artifacts in certain areas of the game. So sticking to 8-bit is just going to minimize these potential issues. So overall, 8-bit color often ensures stable performance, predictable visuals, which is more beneficial than the slight increase in color depth when playing Fortnite on Xbox. And these might apply over to some of the other systems like PC and PS5 as well. But again, this is mainly focusing on Xbox. Okay, so coming out here, we're going to go back over to our video modes, and we're going to talk about variable refresh rate. Okay, so we have two different things here. We have variable refresh rate, and there's another thing on your monitor, which is ELMB, which we'll get to that in a minute here. So variable refresh rate is generally better than extreme low motion blur. That's ELMB for Fortnite, because VRR enhances smoothness, it reduces screen tearing, while ELMB mainly reduces motion blur. And here's why VRR is often the better choice for Fortnite. You're going to get smoother frame rates. VRR synchronizes the monitor's refresh rate with the game's frame rate. So if you're playing on like a monitor that, you know, can do 165 or 144, it's going to sync it at that 120, which is crucial in fast-paced games like Fortnite, where the frame rates can vary so much. The synchronization is going to reduce screen tearing and stuttering, leading to smoother and more consistent gameplay, especially during intense combat or rapid camera movements, mainly like in endgame, that sort of thing. Number 2, it's going to give you reduced input lag, and we talk about this a lot. VRR typically has lower input lag than ELMB. Input lag can be a critical factor in Fortnite, as the delay between your controller or mouse, if you play on mouse and keyboard on Xbox, is what you see on the screen can impact your reaction times and accuracy. So ELMB can sometimes increase input lag due to its backlight strobing method, which can disrupt your responsiveness. And number 3, clarity without compromise. ELMB reduces motion blur by using backlight strobing, but it often lowers the brightness of the screen and doesn't work well with VRR, meaning you can't use both at once in most monitors. Like mine, if I set VRR on my Xbox, it automatically turns off ELMB. So VRR offers clear, smooth visuals without affecting brightness or creating either or trade-off. And number 4 here, finally, adaptable to frame drops. Since Fortnite's frame rate can fluctuate, VRR helps by dynamically adjusting to the changes, ensuring a fluid experience. ELMB, on the other hand, is less effective when frame rates vary because it works best at consistent high frame rates. Okay, now the last thing we're going to talk about here is your resolution. So resolution. Okay, I have the choice because I do have a monitor that will go 1440p at 120 hertz, and I played at 1440 for over a year, and I've also played at 1080, and what I found was quite surprising. In build fights and endgame, I seemed like, even though 1440 has more pixels, it should be a better choice. It's not. I found that a lot of times I had enemies that weren't, they wouldn't fully render, or I would miss them in build fights. And it seemed like I had a harder time following where enemies were in 1440p. And I'm not exactly sure why, but like I said, I did a year-long test on it to kind of see. And this is kind of how I'm going to sum it up. And this is why I think 1080p is a better situation for Xbox. And this does not apply to PC, obviously. And I'm not sure if this is an issue with PS5 or not. But number one, okay, 1080p offers faster rendering. It's going to put less strain on your GPU and your CPU, allowing for quicker render times. So this is going to be useful, like we talked about before, with Fortnite's high action build fights where every second counts. If your system struggles at 1440, enemies and structures may pop in slower than they would at 1080p. And this is really what was happening to me. And even though, you know, my Xbox didn't seem like it was struggling at all, they just weren't rendering, and like my duo partner, they could see them, and like I couldn't see the enemy when I needed to in those fast build fights at every second. Number two, better frame rates. 1080p requires less processing power, allowing your system to achieve higher and more stable frame rates. And you might not see it if you track with that little tracker on Fortnite, but it is happening. Higher FPS is going to improve your visual fluidity and responsiveness, which is going to help you react faster to movements, edits, and new builds around you. Number three, it offers improved visual clarity in high-speed combat. Okay, so we just talked about that. At lower resolutions like 1080p, textures, objects, they might load more consistently, which can make it easier to spot players moving quickly or building structures in real time. And number four, more competitive focus. A lot of competitive Fortnite players use 1080p, but a lot of them are also switching to 1440. And like I said, this is more for Xbox than PC. But 1080p, a lot of them still play on it because it balances the visual clarity with high performance. So it's kind of like using performance mode, not in the same sense, but it's going to help things. Even if you're on, a lower end PC, it's going to help things just be smoother in the game. You're going to get faster rendering in build fights. So if spotting enemies quickly and consistency is a priority, going with 1080p is going to be a solid choice. But again, you can, at the end of the day, you can try both resolutions in a few games and see which feels better. But in my opinion, 1080p is going to give you a more responsive and reliable experience for Fortnite on an Xbox Series X. Okay, and just to sum up things, I'm just going to go over some notes here that I took down on my phone on the settings that I have on my monitor. And also, just to reiterate some of the things we talked about previous. So the monitor that I use with my Xbox is an Asus Tough Gaming. It's a VG27AQ. So I'm going to tell you the settings that I use to get the best quality and the most competitive settings, I feel. So the first thing is, again, I'm using 1080p, obviously. And rather than matching my native resolution, which is 1440p, just because, like I said, I noticed that enemies seem to render more quickly in build fights. The second thing is you're going to want to set your monitor or your Xbox to 120 hertz. This is going to enable higher frame rates for smoother gameplay in Fortnite, especially if you're using performance mode. It's just going to be better overall. So if you can do that, if you have a monitor that can do that, I definitely recommend it. The other thing is allow VRR on your monitor. On mine, you can turn it on or off. And again, we talked about this before. It's going to eliminate screen tearing by syncing the Xbox frames output to the monitor's refresh rate, which is going to be beneficial. The other thing is, number two, turn HDR off. You can do this in Fortnite and on your monitor because Fortnite doesn't fully support HDR on consoles, so enabling it can sometimes wash out colors. It can cause performance dips, so it's best to keep HDR off, and that's a big one. Number three, color depth. We talked about this before. You want to set it to 8-bit. Fortnite doesn't need higher color depths. Again, this video is Fortnite specific, so other games might have a different setup than that. Color space. We didn't talk about this. In your Xbox, there is a setting for color space, and we can go over there actually. Let's pull it back up here. Video fidelity and overscan. whoops, right here, color space. So you have standard, which is Xbox says that's recommended, but they're thinking that you're playing on a TV, not a monitor. So you should be using the SR GB on a monitor, because this is going to provide natural tones for Fortnite, and it works well on most gaming monitors. Okay, so that's where the setting is for that. And we'll just go back out here. Let me get my notes here. Okay, so then the actual settings, let me see if I can find them. Yes, I have some settings here. So on my monitor, if you're using the same monitor as me, there's a couple different modes you can set your monitor to. So I use the racing mode. It seems like it gives a good balance of low input lag, fast response, and clear visuals. And it's pretty much the one that's recommended for competitive games, as it minimizes delay and it provides a very bright and clear picture. The other thing, if your monitor has this, mine does not, overdrive, you can set that to level 3 for reducing motion blur. It's going to help reduce ghosting without introducing much overshoot, which is going to provide a smoother movement during high-speed gameplay. And again, my Asus monitor does not have that, but some of them do. The other thing is make sure adaptive sync or FreeSync is enabled on your monitor. I believe that's what it's called on my Asus. The monitor's VRR technology is going to synchronize the Xbox frame rate to your monitor's refresh rate, reducing screen tearing, and that's what we talked about before. And let's see what else. So then getting to my actual monitor settings that I use in game, there's a color and brightness. These are like color and brightness settings. So my brightness, I would set it to somewhere around 50 to 60 on this monitor. And you can adjust it based on your room's lighting. But Fortnite's a visually vibrant game, so setting the brightness around this range is going to give you good visibility without washing out colors. Number 2, my contrast. I have it set in a range from 75 to 80. This maintains pretty much a good balance of detail and color vibrancy. It's going to help you spot enemies without losing them in shadowy areas and shadow details. Number 3, the color temperature. So this one's pretty interesting. I have mine. I don't use colorblind mode. I used to in the past, but I don't use that in my settings, in my Fortnite settings. But on my monitor, I have it set to user mode. So then I have it custom set, and this is where you can adjust the red, green, and blue. So my red I have set to 100. My green I have set to 95. And my blue I have set to 90. This gives me a warmer tone that's kind of easier on the eyes and enhances contrast. And you can tweak them, based on your preference, but that's what I actually use. Sharpness. My monitor does not have a sharpness setting, but if yours does, you can set that to 50, and that's the default setting. It's going to ensure a clear image without introducing artifacts or making the edges look unnatural. And then we talked about this before, ELMB, which is extreme low motion blur. I'll leave it off. It cannot be used with adaptive sync or FreeSync. So you're going to want to use VRR for the best setting. So let me see if that's everything. I believe we covered everything, folks. So again, we don't talk much about monitor settings. They're as important as your controller settings, because as you know, you actually spend more time using your monitor when playing than your controller. So because there's times that you're not hitting buttons, but you're constantly looking at your screen. So I hope this helps. If it does, go make sure to press that like button and smash that follow button for more tips and tricks and kind of tech insight on Fortnite. And we'll catch you guys later. Peace out.